Hello and welcome to the Business Without Burnout Podcast. I am your host, Kirsten Roldan, and I am so excited to speak to two amazing entrepreneurs today, Janae Young and Jasmine Haitalani. You are going to learn so much from them. These are incredible entrepreneurs who have done so much in their business. Make sure you check them out after this episode because the work that they're doing is absolutely unmatched. Without further ado, welcome to the podcast, Jasmine and Janae. Hello.
I'm excited to be here.
Please introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, what your business is, and who you help.
I can start. My name's Janae. I'm a college admissions coach. So I work with high school students to get accepted into highly competitive schools and win top merit scholarships. I've been in business for over 8 years now. I think we're coming up on 9 actually in September.
Wow. Amazing. Jasmine?
All right. And I'm an agency owner and creative director. I own a creative agency and we help coaches and service providers build campaigns online, rebrand their businesses. And I have been in business for about 5 years, actually just hit our 5-year mark.
Amazing. And you both have been inside $1 Million CEO and you are both top earners in the program. You've done so well. Both of you have hit your highest revenue and profit years while working less inside the program, which is incredible. But I do want to celebrate. Janae just hit $1 million cash in 12 months. That is huge. And I wanted to have you all specifically on because you all have such highly customized services and really, high quality, highly customized. You work with a unique clientele. And I really wanted to talk to that and speak to that because I think it's a big concern and also a big desire and goal that people have to be able to offer really high touch boutique experience at scale. And I think you all have really done that very well. Do you mind sharing? We just said what Janae earns. What do you earn a year, Jasmine?
I'm at $500K a year revenue. I've been kind of doing that in the past 3 years of the business. So 7 figures is on my mark now. But I think to your point about custom service and profit, it was really important that we solidify that as much as possible, make sure our operations and our systems are solid. And I think a lot of people with customized service or even just in general, when it comes to scaling, it's about making sure that the quality is continued to be the same, your reputation and all of that. So
Agreed. Can you all break down, give us the nitty gritty of what your service is, what you actually deliver, and who you serve and how it all looks? Can you start with that, Janae?
Yeah. So I have 2 core programs. One is Ivy League Score. It's a group test prep program. And then my mastermind Ivy League Acceptance. So in Ivy League Score, that's where we focus on SAT and ACT prep. So we have weekly coaching calls. We actually do weekly homework reviews where we go through student questions individually, writing out answer explanations. We have an AI tool in there. We have Slack consistently for students to get questions answered between weekly calls. We have a full curriculum. So that's our base offer and everything that's in that.
Amazing.
And then in Ivy League Acceptance, my mastermind, we have bi-weekly one-on-one calls. I do weekly calls. I typically do 2 to 3 per week on different topics in academics, extracurriculars, college preparation. We have essay reviews around the clock. We do research tasks for students. So we'll do custom research tasks based on their zip code. Like if they want to do an internship, we'll actually find 30 different people that they can reach out to based on their specific interest. We help them launch their own passion projects. So all of that is combined in my mastermind. They also have Slack access as well.
Oh my goodness. And how much do you charge for each program?
My test prep program is $2,500 and then my college prep program starts at $10,000 per year.
Okay. And why did you make it so robust the way that you did?
Yeah, we have really high need clients, as in we are working with 9th through 12th grade students, right? So first we have a lot of different students across the age spectrum. And because of that, we want to make sure there's a lot of scaffolding there, right? Like my youngest students are 13. They start in 8th grade with me.
Oh.
So someone like that, they need a lot of handholding. They need a lot of support. And then to your point of what we're talking about today, there's a lot of customization. Like students are children. They're all going to different schools. They all have different interests. They're all on their personal journey. And we really look at Ivy League acceptance as the process of becoming an Ivy League scholar. So how do I start where I'm at point A? And if I want to end up at point B, what's the becoming journey of that look like? And that requires a lot of coaching, mentorship, support from myself and the team. And so that's why we really wanted to create a program that I was like, we did everything that we possibly could to help this student get in and win as much money as possible. And so building out the systems that can support a lot of different students in one place.
Yeah. And you're making a really big promise
Yeah.
too. You're literally promising Ivy League acceptance.
Exactly. Yeah. Our program promise for my mastermind is getting accepted in a highly competitive school or winning 100K plus in merit.
Wow.
And 100% of our students hit that in our most recent class who went through our full process.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. And so it's like making sure that you can back up that promise is going to be important.
Yeah.
And I imagine you're getting a lot of really unique cases as well.
Oh,
like
for sure.
I'm imagining it's hard to have a requirement on who, I mean, do you have any requirements for people? Like how does that?
Yeah, we have grade requirements in terms of we don't accept students sooner than 8th grade spring, really. So that's like, I would say the main filter. But other than that, we work with students across college majors, across academic disciplines, learning journeys. Like we have students who come in with a 10,000 on the SAT and we have students that come in with a 1570, right? So what's a process and a system and a program that supports all of those students in their own unique way and building that into like the core of the offer? We have students who want to do everything from going into AI to like launching a fashion company. And so they're all in their own unique journey. It's like a classroom, right? Like in a classroom, you have learners who are all on their different journeys. So that's kind of how we think about building the program to support everyone.
Yeah. And we're going to get back to this, but you also have a second client, which is the parent.
Oh,
and I want to hear about how you structured around the parent.
And,
too.
you know, often two.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think like parents are, you know, they're going to come in a pair and different, you know, parents engage in different ways. But I always say, like, if we have 100 students, we're talking about 300 stakeholders. Wow. And I think that's important to take into account when you're talking about systems and such.
Wow, that is so good.
Yeah.
How about you, Jasmine? Tell us the inner workings.
Yeah. So we have 2 core offers. We have Sales Studio, which is our design retainer offer. That is pretty much like something that I always say, like, if you can market it, we can design it. To your point about customization, there's over 50 plus items that you can kind of delegate and get customized specifically for your business. And something specifically with Sales Studio, I wanted it to apply to multiple niches, different business models, but more importantly, different like needs and requirements from a business. There are so many times where retainers are more set in stone with deliverables. So you only get 5 Instagram posts a month. You only get this many, you know, every month versus for us, it's a credit-based system. So you have credits, each kind of graphic or, you know, marketing asset has a specific credit assigned to it, and you can just mix and match and play with whatever you'd like. That's Sales Studio. And then we meet clients where they're at. So whether they don't have any branding at all, or they have something a little bit more curated, they've done a full rebrand. We really meet clients and where they're at with their business. So that obviously kind of impacts how we need to customize the design, us understanding their brand, their business, and all of that. And then we have our second service, which is the rebrand experience. That is like a full scope custom project that we help entrepreneurs with. We kind of take them through the beginning of creative direction, brand strategy, going into brand design, website design, photo shoot, business makeover is kind of what we call it, to allow you to reposition your business for more revenue.
And you have people coming on different websites and stuff as well, different styles too.
Yes,
very different brands.
Yes. For Sales Studio, like I said, we meet clients where we're at. So they're obviously, you know, usually under different platforms, again, have different needs. And then even with Rebrand Experience, kind of the unique selling point that we have and what our clients come to us for is that we don't have a signature style for our agency. Our signature style and taste is you. So, you know, I've gotten so much feedback around clients being like, I looked at your portfolio and I love that everything looks so different and it's specific to the person, especially when they know who the business owner is. And they're like, it's amazing how you've been able to translate that into a visual experience. And I need your help finding what is signature to me. What is my look? What is something visual that's going to stand out for my business?
So good. And what do you charge?
Sales Studio is $3,000 for a 3-month commitment at a time. And then Rebrand Experience is $15,000.
So you're not cheap. That's important to note too, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah.
I want to be clear. I want to know, I know for sure, Jasmine, I'm curious from Janae as well. There was a point where you didn't think you could serve people at scale. So actually, before we even get into that, can we ground this? How many clients do y'all have?
We have around 100 students in Ivy League score. And I think we're sitting at right under 105 in Ivy League acceptance.
So over 200 clients.
Yeah. Yeah. And in Ivy League acceptance, that's 100 people doing one-on-one calls. So we easily have 20 or 25 one-on-one calls every week that are happening across the team.
And we're juggling usually anywhere around like 50 clients throughout the year. Some, again, in Rebrand Experience, some in Sales Studio, and then kind of doing both at the same time.
50 custom design clients that are getting, I'm imagining hundreds of assets a month.
Oh, yes.
Hundreds of assets a month, as well as full-blown websites, full-blown rebrands, photo shoots, depending on the packages that they're working in. Like 50 is like, that's a lot for design.
Yeah.
That's a lot. So was there a time where you were like, there's no way I'm going to be able to deliver this service at scale?
Yeah, I think for me, it's very common at scale. Obviously, if people are trying to enroll more clients and not just raise their prices, a big thing is having like a templatized system. So even with our rebrands, it was really important to me that I don't turn into other agencies that I've seen who basically just create 3 or 4 different templates and then customize those templates for each business owner. To me, again, our selling point is that clients come to us for that unique experience. So for us, it was more about, okay, where can we templatize our systems, our processes, what we can add on, what we can remove. And then I also think about, for Sales Studio specifically, especially when I was delivering I was the only person delivering in that service for a while, you can only work so many hours. You can only design for so many hours. And there was definitely the thought of, I could have 24 hours a day and sit all day and do the work, and I still won't be able to get it done if I wanted to scale. And, I played around with different price points with that offer, different delivery styles, again, but still wanted to maintain the ability to say, we can design anything for your business. Just come work with us. That was definitely a key component of like, okay, I feel like I can only do so much and I can only take on so many clients if I'm going to go the custom route. It felt like an either or situation.
I mean, we definitely have high expectations and very customized client experiences because inherently every parent sees their student as unique, as they should, and they are. And every student has unique needs. So we may be dealing with Chloe, who wants to go to Stanford, is also looking at USC, is between medicine and engineering, doesn't know what path to pick, wants to launch their impact project, needs to work on their confidence, and has to raise their SAT score by 100 points in the next 30 days. That's like a typical client intake type of situation that we're looking at, but that with tons of different students across tons of different cases. So I feel like at the beginning, when I was doing one-on-one coaching, I felt like my personal time, I can mentor each student individually and make sure that they can kind of like get what they're looking for. But I was like, how are we going to do that at scale with 100 plus people? But I also don't just want, at least for me personally, I came to a decision of like, I don't just want a private practice of 20 or 30 kids. I want to help 200 kids a year. I want to help 300 kids a year. I want to have the largest impact that I can. So I had to get real about like, how are we still going to create an experience where students feel like they're getting exactly what they need, where parents feel like I'm being heard and my kids being supported, and this is a unique journey to them, while still doing that at scale. Because also the years we're working with students on, 15 to 18, they only have those years once. So I take it seriously that they are important for them. So those are all the things that I had to think about as a founder and a CEO as I was kind of creating our programs.
You're all optional in client delivery now, meaning you technically do not have to deliver any services in order for clients to get supported. But it was not always that way.
Yeah.
How did you, I can see you both laughing. I'm like, how did you get yourself out of client delivery? And specifically, I think there's 2 sides of it. There's the, how did you get yourself out of client delivery because you love your work, right? And you want to be close to the clients and you want to know what's going on. But then there's also the other side of like, well, literally, how can I train someone to be as good as I am? I'd love to hear that from you all.
I think it starts with, and I scaled from 300K to $1 million in 18 months. Wow. So, and at 300K, I probably had 25 one-on-one clients, all the way to having like 100 students in our mastermind and me being optional in client delivery. And I think the first place that it started with me is actually checking my own ego, kind of to a similar point of what Jasmine was saying of, I could work all the hours in a day and I would be doing these students a disservice. And when you can get there of like, I am not the best person to be doing all the things at all of the time, because that actually declines and like creates a worse client experience for someone, then I think you can start getting to, how can I get clear on what I am doing? Where is my highest value add? and how do I actually start to create systems and processes and support structures that can create that effect across an organization. So for me, that started with one-on-one coaching. I knew I'd been in a lot of masterminds myself, but given the age of our client, I wanted to keep one-on-one coaching. Students have a bunch of different personalities, and sometimes they're still learning to raise their hand. And so I was like, I want them to have that personalized space. So I started one-on-one coaching. Like I was doing one-on-one coaching throughout my entire business. And I built a one-on-one coaching team and a trained team of coaches that could sit with students one-on-one and implement the different things that we were doing. That was just one of the things that we did to scale client delivery. I'm sure we'll talk about more. But like, I think that's where it starts in terms of being like, okay, I need to get serious about how I'm going to create an exceptional experience for all of these different clients from all of these different backgrounds. And that starts with getting serious about with myself of like what I can actually realistically contribute, and then how to build systems to replicate myself if that's the case.
On that note, I think for me, I already had team members that were involved in delivery, I think at the time that we started working together, but it was just a matter of like, it's not good enough. If someone is delivering at the, the basics of the program, it was still like I needed to deliver higher end things for the client, especially for the client to see the service as worth it.
Yeah.
It was really important for me that I was making sure that even during that process, clients were still able to see that they're investing in us as an agency, and that my philosophies, my processes are kind of intertwined throughout training clients, our systems, again, our operations, everything there. But when I also think about, to your point, I think for me, it was more like no one can do it like me. I'm the best at it. That's why people are coming to me. That's why I charge what I charge. And it was, I think, like, to your point about like checking your own ego, really deciding, I think something that you say, Kirsten, is, and they don't have to be. Like, they don't have to be you. They don't have to be just like you. That's why you are the CEO. You are the leader. And it was definitely like a learning curve for me trying to figure out now, okay, how do I get my mannerisms and like what I like to do in the process and the way that I think and the way that I strategize on paper to then document how the process is supposed to go so that my team also understands and sees the value. Again, they don't have to be me. And so often, especially now, we have such a collaborative like environment with the team that sometimes they, bring up things or mention things that I'm like, oh yeah, like I didn't even think about that. Or I or they have their own experiences with design specifically that we're able to, go back and forth on. But I think it needed to start with that thought first of it doesn't just have to be me. And again, at the end of the day, they're investing knowing that they want the project done well versus just done. Yeah. And that's what they're willing to pay a high ticket for.
I was just speaking with a client, funny enough, about design work, and she had left an agency, a design agency, temporarily because, she just didn't like certain things about it, went to a solo designer and hated the experience and was like, I need an agency. I need to work with agencies. I just need to. And I'm just like, yeah, truly good clients like are not going to want to work with people that don't have systems, that aren't working at scale, because if you're working at scale, it means you're being more efficient. Right. And so like what you said, it's like realizing that no matter how hard I work, I'm still not good enough for my clients is huge. And I thought that was a really good example. How do you keep clients happy though, when you're out of delivery?
I think it starts with, for me, I'm, an educator, I teach, and so I started to look at like, okay, I started teaching to teach, like I would teach my students, and then I'm teaching to document what I do well and why it keeps people happy. And then I'm teaching my coaches, like I'm coaching my coaches on how to implement the systems we talk about, the support we offer, et cetera. And so within that, as I was coaching my coaches, it's starting to, when you can coach yourself on your own ego and be like, it is a better experience for someone if they have a streamlined process, if they're, if you're not late on deadlines because you're overburdened and you're trying to do all the things as the CEO, it's a better experience for them. Then you can start to see how your coaches are actually assets. So for me on my team, like I hype my team up. When people are like, oh, I just want to work with Janae, I'm like, well, my co-coach won $3 million in merit and I didn't.
Yeah.
Like he's actually a specialist in this, or this coach is actually a specialist in this. And I think it'd be really valuable for your student to have 2 or 3 perspectives based on what they're working on. And they're like, oh, you're right. But that only comes from me coaching myself first on like, I can't do it all. And, maybe I'm a superstar at what I do, right? But that doesn't mean that other people can't do what I do as well if I train them well. And so I think that's for me where it started. And then when my thoughts changed, I was able to empower my team, and then my students' thoughts changed, where sometimes they'd be like, actually, I really like working with them. I'm okay. Like, someone else already solved it. I don't need to hear from you. And I was like, oh, great.
Yeah.
Right. But that's kind of the workflow you have to get into.
Yeah.
For me, it's honestly just being honest about where you are involved. I think so many people are afraid of, how am I going to explain to my client that I'm not involved in the day-to-day delivery? For us, it's honestly just been about transparency on where I am involved. What am I doing behind the scenes? I'm not just like, unaware of what's going on with your project. I think that sometimes clients, that's what they believe too, is like just more numbers means that you're completely uninvolved. They don't see the weekly meetings that you're having with your team, the discussions that, come up around clients that might be having a difficult time in your program or things like that. So for me, it's just about being transparent. From the moment that they're onboarded, we have essentially FAQ section that literally describes, hey, this is what the team's doing. This is what Jasmine's doing. Here's the team's involvement. Here's Jasmine's involvement in the process. And to your point about hyping your team up, I think it's also very important to say some of these were this team member's idea, or we collaborated on this together. So it's even for us when we are presenting briefs or things from the project, we say hey, we as a team collectively decided this was the best approach. And for the most part, just letting them know where you're signing off on things and where you're strategizing, and just making sure that you are also crediting your team as much as possible and showing that they are as good as you. And so it goes back to transparency within your systems.
I was going to say, on that point, I loved what you said about where you are in the program, because I think sometimes people think when you pull out of client delivery, you're going to be twiddling your thumbs all day.
Right.
And it's
that was going to be my question. I'm like, what do y'all do if you're not in delivery? Yeah.
Your clients are happy when what you're doing with your time is for them.
Yeah.
So what you need to be doing then is, okay, if I'm not in the weeds of client delivery, then how am I making it better across the entire program? How am I analyzing my offers, where people are getting stuck, and then creating something that helps 100 people?
Mm-hmm.
I always say the only thing that should be on my calendar is if it's going to help 100 people. So are we building out technology systems? Am I auditing SOPs? Am I training team members that are going to be talking to 20 or 30 people a week so that they have a better experience? Am I thinking of new format styles so that they're like, oh yeah, this is great, but it's because I'm going to work in the time that I'm not on a direct call.
I was also going to say that at that stage, your job is literally innovation and problem solving.
Yep.
All week long.
Yep.
Because how else is your program going to continue helping more people, being more efficient, increasing results? Especially, I think both of us have industries that are rapidly changing year by year.
Mm-hmm.
There are new requirements, there's new standards that are being set, there's new just needs that our customers have. And so it's thinking about the solutions constantly so that your service doesn't get dated. People go somewhere else. People find something more efficient. And I think this goes back to something we were talking about earlier, where for me, I was also okay, if I wanted to just keep it all on me, it's not that I'm going to have to even work all day, but I can't promise what I promise in terms of maybe same week, communication time, maybe 48-hour deadlines, things like that. I'm not going to be able to do that at scale, which is to your point, a disservice to you. So I think that's really, really important to know.
Yeah. People think out of delivery means out of touch. And what I'm hearing is, and what I've experienced in my own business is, you will never be more in touch than when you're out of delivery, because you have nothing else to do but really, not nothing else to do, but your primary job when it comes to delivery is literally just looking at what's happening, thinking about what's going on with the clients, and thinking about how to fix it and make it better. That's your whole job.
And let's be real, because I remember when I was doing one-on-one coaching, I probably had 20 or 30 clients, and I would do coaching days because that's what worked well for my workflow. I would have 2 intense days where I would probably coach back to back to back. And when I was on those calls, I'm not thinking about everyone.
No.
Right? I'm not thinking about, okay, did client 4 that I talked to on Monday follow up on that specific task when I'm talking with client 20 that week later?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think there's actually more opportunity for you to get to know all of your clients better, to know their data points, because you have to put the systems in place to be able to support more than just a handful of people, where I think their client experience is elevated and your knowledge as a coach is elevated. Where I used to think one of the biggest fears I had is that I wouldn't know my students well, because I wanted to have that teacher feel I know someone's name, I know where they're at, I know their personality. I still feel I know 100 students really well. I think I have a little bit of a crazy memory, but like I still have the data on where they're at, where they're getting stuck, who they've talked to, what they've gotten coached on, what we're in the work. So like, even if I happen to like get a question from them, I can boom, 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 because I'm up to date. I could have never done that back in the day.
Yeah. And it's interesting. Like people think working one-to-one is the highest connection service, but actually when you're working one-to-one with someone as a coach, it becomes a Q&A session. It's literally just hot seat Q&A at that point.
All you get is 60 minutes.
Yeah.
Usually you're not offering
and you're just answering
else.
whatever question they have in that moment. You're not developing a framework. You're not helping them get results faster. It was actually when I started to think about, to your point, when I was doing one-on-one, when I thought about all 10 of my clients, multiple times throughout the week, and I thought about all of them, what they were going through, they all got results faster. But when you're just like one-to-oneing it, you're really not going to create an efficient system. And it's the same thing with done for you services as well. It's the same thing. You're just getting like this custom project that's not making your service any better. You're just kind of putting out the fire as it comes.
Yeah.
And I think people don't realize that serving at scale actually makes you better and more efficient for your clients. Your payrolls must be through the roof. I mean, you're out of delivery. You're serving so many clients, such custom services. You must be spending so much. You must be barely making it.
Laughs and rich.
Champagne laugh. No, I want people, because the big fear that people have is they're like, okay, this is all cool. I get it. But like, I want to keep my money.
Yeah.
Right. So I would love to hear about y'all's businesses before you were serving at scale, what concerns you had financially about scaling, and then like where you're at now.
Yeah, I think whenever you're scaling delivery, you're going to add people. So before I was a one-woman show, and that was overwhelming. But I also got to keep all the profits of that directly, if we're being real in terms of finances. I have scaled my team efficiently. So not to brag, but I think I did the numbers on the first 6 months of the year, and I think we're sitting at like 70% profitability.
Wow.
I pay my team well.
I was going to say, wait, what are you paying?
I pay my team well. Like I pay my team like $100 an hour when they're coaching with students. And they're, college or right out post-grad. So they're like, great. Right. And I have like my coaching team, but I also have I have a salesperson on my team. I have my operations people that are on my team. So it's not just like my coaching team. And we're probably we're bringing in probably around 100K in revenue a month consistently. And I would probably say our team expenses are less than 20%.
Yeah.
I would probably say in the middle of 10 to 20%.
While paying them well.
Yeah, while paying them well.
Yeah.
So, yes. That answers your question.
And if you're all wondering, that's systems work.
Yes.
It's being able to keep their hours lean, right? And making it to where, and with 25 calls a week, that's actually incredible. That's also with one-on-one coaching.
Yeah.
How many people are on your team?
I have 4 co-coaches that are doing one-on-one coaching. And then we kind of have one co-coach that also oversees my test prep program specifically.
Okay.
Yeah.
So good.
So for us, something similar. I think one of the things in the beginning that I was trying to wrap my head around is especially I went into comparison mode, everyone. I'm admitting on the podcast. For the longest time, I just felt like there is no way my business could be as profitable because I wasn't a coaching business.
Yeah.
You can have one coach for 50 people, but I can't have one designer for 50 people. So and especially when I started working with you, Kirsten, like I said, I already had a team, but it was about coming up with better systems, coming out with more efficiency. And also you had to kind of tell me it is not worth it if you have this team and you have this work, but you are so nervous about how you're going to pay them month over month. Mm-hmm. And so it's also to your point about developing systems that make the work easier for them. Especially when I think about my team, they're all contractors. They're from across the globe. I'm so proud of that. And I also think about they have the flexibility to work their own hours. I don't monitor anything. I'm as long as you can respond to me within 24 hours during business times, especially with Sales Studio, or even honestly Rebrand, it's just you can clock in, do the work and whatever, as long as we're meeting deadlines. So they're
Dream
also
job.
not feeling micromanaged. A lot of them are just like, you feel like a client of mine in terms of my own business. So like and they can grow their business as well. So it's extremely flexible for them. I think like when I started with you, I think we were at about like 30, max 40% profit. And now we're over 60%.
Amazing.
And so
Amazing.
that's huge, especially like I said, with Done For You services and me again
As a
constantly
design
comparing things.
agency?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
and we're not
Yeah.
hiring out
Yeah.
paying people $2 an hour.
No, you're not. Yeah.
Because
yeah. No, we know. No, I'm glad that you named that. Like
Yeah.
you're actually paying your team well. You're not paying unethical wages.
Mhm.
And like $100 an hour is amazing. And at the same time, you don't have to pay that much to still have an incredible dream job
Yeah.
for people. And I
Yeah.
think people don't realize that
Mhm.
because they're like, oh, well, that's not my budget. Okay, not yet. That's fine. You can still be creating a dream job for someone.
Yeah.
Like what you said, like being able to work. All I wanted was to work from home.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some of my
Like-
contractors have been able to like have weddings and buy homes. And I'm like,
I remember
oh my
you had a
gosh,
contractor reach out
yeah.
about that.
And I'm like, that's just
Yeah.
amazing to hear
Yeah.
that you are creating that opportunity for someone.
I typically am hiring co-coaches who are in my range. So like just out of undergrad. So typically 5 years post-grad. And so they may be like in a gap year applying to medical school. And it's like you get to work with students. You get to have a part-time job that still like
From
pays
home.
your bills from home.
I mean, come on.
Only like a few, like, under 10 hours a week typically. And like, and still have that type of connection that like so many times when people with my team, most of my team are Ivy League grads. It's like, I want to give back. I want to like help kids. Like that fills me with joy. This feels like very purposeful work. So I'm able to create a dream job for them. And then for my students, I always say like, I think that I'm a phenomenal coach. I think I'm a great mentor, but I'm not the only mentor for students. And especially like, I think with all of us and all of our coaching businesses, sometimes it's more helpful to hear it from a co-coach.
Yeah.
And like in a different language, in a different voice, in a different tonality, with a different flavor. Sometimes it can help it click if they hear it from 3 people in 3 different places. They're like, oh, okay, maybe I got it.
I have had clients say they prefer co-coaches.
Yeah,
over me,
yeah.
just because of my own, like you said, tone, things like
Yeah,
that. Yeah, totally.
exactly. So
Totally. Can I ask a dicey question?
sure.
I'm surprised you haven't yet.
I want to ask a dicey question. I mean, you all we laughed in Rich, right? We talked about $700,000 in profit, 60%
Yeah,
profit,
yeah.
right? And we have people doing the work for our clients. Is there any guilt around that? How do you reconcile that? How does that feel? Like, tell me about that side of things.
I'm well rested, but I work hard.
I was going to say.
I work hard. So I'm still heavily involved in my mastermind. I coach in all my programs. And in my mastermind, I coach multiple hours a week. And that's an intentional choice because I could outsource those calls. I am delivery optional, but I love my kids.
Yeah.
And so I do coach a lot. But also like to that point of what you're doing in your free time, I am thinking and I'm problem solving at such a high level. Like our mastermind results, I think it was 90% the first year. It was 100% when we just did the calculations with the class of 2025. So I'm thinking like, how are we getting everyone across the finish line? And how are we holding the experience as people are still scaling in the program? And that's hard work. Hard work is not just sitting on calls all day. And so I think when you're working hard, you won't feel guilty.
Yeah.
And also I've put in the reps. That's also another thing. Like I've easily coached for 10,000 hours. I've been a business owner for 8 years. Like I did the one-on-one coaching days of coaching for 8-9 hours. So I'm like, my coaching team is delivering on concepts and frameworks that I built from years of experience.
Yeah.
And so even though they are working with clients directly, they're working on systems and strategies that I built to make their job more efficient and so that students could have the same experience.
To your point, yes, I think we all work hard. It just looks different than actual manual labor. And I think for me, like there is a little bit of you're not forced to stay. Like at any time, if you're dissatisfied or this job is no longer meeting what you envisioned or what you want, you're more than welcome to go seek another opportunity. I also think something else that we work on is, again, making their job as easy as possible. Like for our team, they do not have to worry about client communication whatsoever. They just have to literally produce the work. And then what we do is then, put things together, communicate with the client, be in the day-to-day. They don't have to worry about systems or what. They're just following a process. So their hard work, again, looks different than my hard work. And I think everyone on my team is aware of that. Our prices are transparent. They're up on the website. They probably know what the clients that we're signing on. But again, everyone is still happy to be there because of the role that they have, not necessarily because they're comparing, oh, I have this and they have that. Or, I have different types of designers on my team, different roles on my team, and no one's sitting here comparing what one person gets over the other because they know, again, what the role requires. And they also know that they're welcome to, again, go seek another opportunity. So to your point about, yes, like I have put in the reps, I work hard. I also work hard because, again, without clients, I wouldn't be able to hire you or I wouldn't be able to contract you out. And so I do feel like, for the most part, no one on my team compares because, again, they know what the differences are.
I think I feel guilty when I'm signing on a client. We talk about their big dreams and goals. There's big expectations. And I feel like I personally can't deliver because I know I'm overburdened. Yeah. And I'm saying yes to that. Like that is where I feel guilty. Yeah. And so I think if you're looking at your team is actually the most ethical and responsible thing that you can do to serve clients, there's no guilt in the team being present.
So true.
Because it's like, I can't muster all of this alone. We need our team processes and systems in order to get you a result. So I feel well rested knowing if I get sick before a kid's deadline, it's okay. Like I'm not the only one editing essays in the back with COVID on like November 30th with the December 1st deadline. They have had 2 or 3 coaches that have also been right there supporting them. We have systems. We have plan A, plan B, plan C. We have contingency plans. Like that is peace, right? In terms of client delivery. And so I feel guilty when it's actually the opposite.
Yeah.
Last thing I was going to add to that was I also am just very grateful for my team that, we have a very honest, direct, and transparent culture with my team, with feedback, with suggestions, anything overall, like similar to how I market upfront to clients. That is literally how we set expectations with the team. Again, them being first in line in terms of delivery, they are often the first to tell me, hey, I think it would be better if we optimize this way, or think about this in this way. Here's where I've been struggling. Do you have any suggestions for that? And so still very grateful that they're able to continue to offer these suggestions and ways that we can also like back them up in the process. And on that note, like there are so many times where clients come to us with feedback and I'm not throwing my team under the bus. And I think that's very important too. You have to have your team's back.
For sure. And I think I want to highlight and zoom in on something that you said, Jasmine. We work so hard to make our team's job easy. Like you said, there's so much that they don't have to actually deal with. Yeah. Yes, they're doing certain aspects of delivery, but there's so much they don't have to deal with. One of the big things is like, okay, you may be working in delivery. I get the consequences.
Oh yeah, I'm not blaming my
delivery,
team.
Or I get
you can't say, oh yeah, sorry, my team messed up or so-and-so didn't. No, it's always back
it's
on you.
It's always going to be you. You have to deal with the consequences of bad delivery, bad operations. You have to deal with fixing the systems to make sure that you retain team members, that they don't burn out, that you retain payroll, all of that. You have to work on so many things, making sure the clients are happy, making sure it's a service that they love, it's a service they want to refer. There's so much that our team does not have to think about. And I love what you said as well around something I always think about is I'm just like, they can always have their own business even while they're working with me. So if they want to make more money, if it's because it all started with, do you feel guilty with all the money you're making and this and that compared, if you want to make more money, that's why you're a contractor with flexible hours. And I try to make it as a lean of a job as possible so that you can have plenty of time and plenty of room to go and do whatever else you want to do. And I've had team members that have done that. And then they have decided, I want to go and focus on my own thing now. And I'm like, great, amazing. This is why we build systems for the company and not just for specific team members, because I want them to feel like they can leave at any time and there's no pressure. There's no like, you can't leave me. You can't leave me. It's like, no, like this was supposed to be a clock in and clock out thing for you. Like, I want that for you. That's what I want. And there's no jobs doing that, and definitely no entrepreneurs doing that. So I also sleep well at night because I'm like, you can't tell me. I give y'all as much breathing room as I possibly can.
Yep.
Yes, sometimes we're working on systems for profit reasons because we need to keep it within the hours and within our budget, but also it's to make your job easy.
Yep.
Because I want to retain you, because I think you're great and I want you to have an easy job, right? And so like I said, I'm like, for those reasons, I sleep well at night because I'm like, my whole job is literally to make your job as easy as possible. And I shoulder the rest. I'm okay with getting paid what I get paid.
Yeah.
Last thing I was going to mention in regards to profit, especially because this was something I really had to work on, and it's definitely not an easy conversation to have with your team. But to that point, I would rather like be able to pay you for a long time than be able to overpay for like 2 months. And then I'm like, sorry, like I have to let you go.
I remember we had a lot of coaching
Yeah.
on
So
that.
it's just like something around that on the being able to provide sustainability and longevity, not just for them, but also just for the structure of your business, rather than be in this feast or famine cycle where you're overpaying, then underpaying, then letting people go, then having to bring people back on. It's just not the way that I also want to run my business.
Can I say something spicy?
Yeah.
I also think the conversation around, I feel guilt if I'm not always in client delivery or like coaching 8 hours a day until I can't look at a screen anymore, can also be a little bit of a self-concept thing in terms of actually seeing yourself as a CEO that works on the business versus in the business, and what, as you continue to scale, you're actually getting paid for. Which is like, you're not always getting paid for just the minutes that you're sitting in a meeting with a client. You're getting paid for your higher level ideas, your strategic vision, your ability to implement systems. Like, you're the thinker, you're the visionary. That's what CEOs of major companies are doing as well. And building the team that gets people phenomenal results. That is your job now. And so I think there's a shift of that is actually why I'm getting paid. Right. And that looks different than being in the nitty gritty weeds of stuff versus when I was in a different stage of my business. And so the definition of value changes from just coaching to the bigger things as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It goes back to, I think, like kind of a framework that I have is basically like labor versus being an advisor, being a partner, even with your client. To your point, like I can just, track 10 hours, fix a website, however, and then put it in. But in order for you to come up with the strategy and ideas and do the research, and again, the customization process of it all, that's also why you can charge high ticket, multiple 4 or 5 figures for something.
Something I was thinking about is you all are very systematized right now, right? But people don't see all the work it took, the client complaints that it took, the consequences that it took, like the transition period.
Sure.
I would love to give some insight on that. And like, how did you still manage to scale and grow and keep going? A little bit of a mindset question. Like, how did you stay in it when it was real sticky? Jasmine, I'm looking at Jasmine. How did you stay in it?
I'm zoning out right now.
Disassociating. How did you stay in it when things got sticky? Because it could be easy to like, you're creating these systems, great, and they're not working yet, and they're not, and then you're getting client complaints, and then you're getting this, and then you're getting that, and it could be easy to be like, maybe this isn't what I'm supposed to do. Maybe this isn't going to work at scale. How'd you stick with it?
First, I'm committed to client experience, right? So I always go back to, this is a little bit of a mindset take, but like, what are the emotions that make me feel brave and courageous? And one of them is almost this commitment that I have to clients, right? To do my job, to show up for them, this love I have for the work that I do. Kind of relating to your question of like, how do you still keep the love of what you do? You decide to be a really great CEO even when it gets hard. Yeah. Like, if I love coaching so much, if I really love helping people in this area so much, I'm committed to building the systems that will make this work at scale because I desire to help people at scale. So I think that desire has kept me innovating even when things haven't always worked. I also think, you have to recognize, like, in any type of situation, you can't make everyone happy. And there's some grief with that. Like, I think I very much, to be transparent, have gone through a stage over the last year of like, I can think of the best program in the world and every system that I could think of and like train to perfection. And there's still going to be people that aren't happy.
I'm so glad you mentioned that.
And that's okay. There's some grief there that I think you need to process. I'm a perfectionist, so I would try to action out of it. Like, oh, no, but they were just happy because there wasn't this system and there wasn't this SOP. And then you'll add that in and, there's a different set of clients that maybe it's not going to work for. And that's okay, right? As you're scaling. I always say I've been in a stage of my business where people are getting different versions of me over the last probably 18 months because we have scaled quickly. So maybe I guess 2 years ago, I would do all of the one-on-one calls. I would do everything in the business versus people that are meeting me now are like, I hear you work with 100 students. That's so small. They're they're the completely different visions in terms of what a company that they would like to be a part of looks like and all of that. So I think that's been the messy middle. You have to be committed to the cause to continue to innovate and problem solve. And then I think you also have to be okay when people give you feedback and just keep rolling.
Yeah.
Similar, I think when you're in the thick of it, it's really, you're tunnel vision. And even sometimes as fast as you are fixing things, it just feels like things are piling on from clients, from team members who are just trying to work with something that's broken. And I think even I feel like I've been someone that's systems oriented and organized. And I actually sometimes, I know you've called me out on this, where I will default to systems fixes instead of fixing another problem that is probably what's causing something. I think for me, a big reminder was, yes, the kind of people pleasing aspect, but also it's it's not better on the other side.
Wow.
Losing all my clients, losing my business, being a solopreneur again, it is not what's going to help me achieve my goals. It is not better on the other side. And I think so many times, especially with burnout culture, we tear it all down and we don't go back. And, it's very rare that the other side is bringing something. It goes back to business brain versus burnout brain. It's very rare that something on the other side is much better and comes with no trouble, no problems, no expectations. It's just you're going to end up dealing with that same thing somewhere else. So you can shut down an offer, you can release all your clients, but the minute you're going to start something back up again, you're going to find that same problem showing up in a different way.
And that takes radical honesty because it's very easy to forget the past.
Yeah.
It is very easy. And you'll be like, no, I did like it better.
You remind me.
I was happy. And I have reminded Jasmine many times. I'm like, how quickly you forget.
Yeah.
That you
I was living my dream life. What are you talking about?
No, you were not. I'm like, you were living. I'm not gonna call you out. I'm not gonna call you out. But I'm like, she had a very different life.
Yeah.
And so I am just like, no, this is not your life that you wanted. And we forget. And it takes really sitting with ourselves and let's be honest now.
As someone who also gets such satisfaction from that, the moment you fix it and it clicks, there is no
so
better
good.
feeling.
Yeah.
I just had that in Q2 and honestly, shout out to my OBM. We had to do a whole systems revamp 3 times because it still wouldn't work.
Yeah.
And when we finally got it, we were on our team meeting just a couple of days ago and we were just I guess it's working. Okay. Let's just keep maintaining this. And it's really just one of the best feelings to feel your idea worked, the systems are working, your clients are getting a better experience than ever. To your point, it's also people that are paying high ticket prices. You do want to deliver an experience, and that does end up impacting how people perceive your business and how they continue to talk about working with you over time.
I also think it is, to your point of the best feeling in the world, when people will compliment your team, because I think that's a different level of leadership. As I alluded to earlier, I have a sales closer on my team, someone on my team. She's deeply integrated into our brand. And that's not the right decision for everyone, but it was for mine. And I remember I was there's just no way. There's just no way that someone would trust. Someone would never meet me, speak to someone else, invest in the program, and then meet me and be
Which, by
happy.
the way, in a lot of organizations is normal.
It's normal.
It just doesn't feel normal here.
In
but
the
I'm
coaching
there's
space.
academies, online academies where that's normal.
And that's what we started to see in the industry. And I was like, okay, hold on here, because I'm in education. That's why I gave that context as a disclaimer. But I now will get on calls with people, and it's so funny, the transfer of trust. They're like, am I going to like Janae because I liked,
Yes.
they liked my salesperson so much.
Yeah.
And then I get on a call and they're like, we just had the most beautiful experience. We felt like it was so aligned with your brand. We felt so cared for. And I'm like, very transparently, we work with families, right? So families are available in the evenings and the weekends when they're trying to like talk about their student or et cetera. I'm like, I couldn't deliver that experience at 10 o'clock at night, like on repeat after like over and over. And so there is another version after the messy middle of like, oh my gosh, like I was able to take what I wanted to manifest and the type of experience I wanted someone to have, train someone on that, and they're delivering that. And it's a better experience for that person. And it's a better experience for me.
I just had a podcast interview with the client, which if you're listening to this, Soledad, it was her, and it'll be posted so people will know, where the whole time she talked about my co-coach, Coach Danielle, who we're shouting out because she's amazing the whole time. And I was just sitting there and I was just like, I couldn't be happier. Like it was like bringing tears to my eyes especially because she was a new client when she joined and I had an unexpected 6-week medical leave. And that's your biggest fear to happen is like, is everything going to be okay? Even when you're all systematized. And even though I teach this, I still have the same anxieties, right? And when she was like, oh yeah, I got all these results and Coach Danielle and Coach Danielle and Coach Danielle. And I was like, this is all I could ever ask for. Like literally all I could ever ask for. And so it is beautiful. And like you said, the messy middle, it truly is worth it. And I love how you all are like gushing about your team, because another thing that I am realizing is not as normal right now is there's a lot of people that don't like their teams. How did you find such good talent to take care of your clients?
I used to, this is a little spicy. I used to get mad at my team. We'll just say like, for example, like a VA.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just wish they would do it like this. And I just wish they would do it like this. And there are sometimes bad team members, right?
Totally.
But I think you first sometimes need to look at, have I trained them adequately? And have I really broken down every single little thing about what I do and why I do it and created a environment for them to succeed? I think that is sometimes where we need to start doing the work first for ourselves as leaders. And I magically started having a better experience when I started coaching myself as a leader. Like, are we having a set cadence? Does she have a set training process? What are SOPs look like? Are they confusing? Are they messy? Are they 18 pages? Like, have I broken this down this way? Have I watched her do it? Has she watched me do it? Like, actually asking yourself all of that first before you just take it out on your team. I think that makes you a better leader, so that if even you brought in the wrong person, the next person will have the environment for success to be the best member of the team. So I think in a weird way, yes, I've recruited like amazing talent and they really care about my students, et cetera. But I also think I haven't led the expectation that they're going to be perfect. I've made the SOPs, the systems, et cetera, for them to, no one's perfect, but like for them to be excellent, without expecting that's just like magically going to happen as a unicorn without me, really training them for that.
Yeah, I think you can go through the logistics of the hiring process and like set expectations. I also think like they're looking at you first, right? If you are an anxious leader and you're showing up anxiously and frazzled and coming up with ideas last minute and expecting everyone to just jump on board, I think they're going to be anxious and frazzled and feel like they can't do their job or their role. So I think the more confident, clear you are, the more that they're going to be that too. And I think something as well is like, I don't need my team to be my best friend, but I do need them to respect me. I need them to know that they could be honest with me, that they can bring something to me. And again, it just starts with me and how I'm showing up in my business. And honestly, like this has been happening recently, and I know you used to tell me this a while ago. Someday, like your team members are going to come to you and literally say, like, it's just such an honor to work with you, to work with your business, to work with your agency, the time and effort that you take to do all of that. And it's also like very nice to just be recognized, especially if you have gone through the journey of like figuring out who you are as a leader and going through the moments of like, do I want to micromanage them? Do I need to reflect on myself? What's going on? And seeing them power through too. But it's always going to reflect back on like how you're showing up first.
A huge thing I always say in $1 Million CEO is you have to be the CEO people want to work with.
Yeah.
That's the number one. No application process can be being the CEO people want to work with, and you will attract high quality talent just by doing that, just by being that. We've talked a lot about client experience, custom services, having high expectations. Something I want to talk about is boundaries and knowing the balance between over delivery in a healthy way versus, okay, this is when I need to allow the client to have their thoughts and set my policies. How do you all navigate that?
I think for me, it comes with, obviously, first of all, how is the client approaching the situation and handling the situation? I feel like that's customer service one-on-one. If you're going to come yelling, shouting, like being very expressive in your emails,
we match
then
energy.
Yeah, she's all about neutral responses. I'm like, ChatGPT, make this neutral, make this neutral.
No. I match energy.
It is hard to see. For me, it's hard to see what the client is trying to communicate and what they want when it's all wrapped in some things that are subjective or feelings, especially from a design perspective. I feel like what can be said and then how it's translated can go either way, right? And sometimes there is just simply like a misinterpretation. And when the client isn't clear on the process, it goes back to like they're paying high ticket. They thought this was going to be something custom. They are themselves, like I always have to remind myself, like the client isn't happy, not necessarily at you, but they're also just wanting the result just as much. Oh. And they're just trying to figure out like, how am I going to be able to make this work? I've never done something like this before. I don't know what the expectations are. So I think it starts with like how the client is approaching the situation. And number two, like, are they willing to meet you halfway? Are they willing to follow your policies? Are they willing to follow your process? And then in terms of like over delivery with like how you want to solve specific things, I think it goes back to client rapport and client trust. It's making sure that if I give this client an inch, are they going to try to take a mile? Are they going to try to overstep again and go above and beyond? Versus, especially like we have so many clients that we've worked with for 2, 3, 4 years at this point. And so we know, the intention behind their feedback. We know, again, we've built that rapport, we've built that trust with them. And then it's also like being very clear that you are making exceptions to the rule, exceptions to the policy, providing something one time. Because at the end of the day, I think I have to remind myself, like, I want the result for the client just as much as they want it for themselves. And if they really want it and they're willing to meet us halfway, then great. Otherwise, it's about being very honest and straightforward on like, here's what needs to happen next in order for you to continue getting that result.
I have a perspective, many of the things that you said, Jasmine, of like, how is the client, right, approaching you and where are we starting as our baseline? But I also think as a different perspective, when you have boundaries in place, you have capacity to over deliver. And I think that's sometimes like a dance you have to play with, where I think I look at it as like, okay, we're going to build out systems and boundaries like of what's going to happen and when. And I think if we're enforcing those, I can sometimes have the capacity to over deliver in a situation where it warrants it. So I think very similar to you, it's kind of like sometimes in our situation, we work with parents and students. And so I think there's sometimes even boundaries that are happening right at a parenting relationship that can show up in our coaching program. And I'll ask myself the question of like, is this helpful for this student? As in, sometimes we can't handhold someone to Harvard, right? And so I'm like, a lot of times in our program, students are learning adult skills, networking, following up, advocating for themselves, asking questions. So if I see that I feel like it's not going to be helpful for their long-term growth of the result we said we wanted when we started, I'm like, okay, that's maybe where I'm going to enforce a boundary of like, we do need them to come to the coaching call, right? We can't hold their hand through everything. But in those like boundaries that I'm keeping, sometimes I have the capacity to check in with someone who's been a little quiet or like follow up with someone here or do this here just because I like care and I'm not slammed all day, right? Because I have boundaries in place and I have systems in place. So I guess that's the way I think of it.
I like what you said about capacity specifically, because I think people are over boundaried because they're scared of capacity. But when you have capacity, I always tell my clients, I'm like, I'm not scared of people breaking my boundaries.
Yeah.
Like, because I have so much capacity, like nobody's gonna like make me burn out again. I think that's what it is like, you're gonna make me burn out again. You're gonna make me, and it's like, I just don't believe that anymore about anybody. I now know that like burnout is not a result of the workload, et cetera. And so for that reason, I think, like you said, when you have so much capacity, it doesn't feel, even if you are like going off policy, it doesn't feel like a break in boundary.
Yeah.
Actually, even if it quote unquote is, it doesn't feel that way emotionally.
Yeah.
I also wanted to say, like, how are you actually handling the situation before and after? I know that there's not going to be a time where we're going to be able to enroll hundreds of clients and have absolutely zero issues. There are customer service things that are going to come up that are just a natural part of business. And so how are you having systems and communication in place where the client knows what to expect and things like that? But we even have a like post feedback policy on our like internal team in terms of, okay, why did the client even get, how did we even get here? What system, what communication was missing? What wasn't clear? So it's also about taking responsibility a little bit sometimes too, where it's like, okay, yeah, maybe there was something that we understood as a team and that that was very clear and that made sense for us, but why did the client not understand it in the same way that we did? So it's also sometimes taking back the responsibility and figuring that out so that you can feel confident about upholding the boundaries. Because I think so many times people think that their boundaries are also too much or like not necessary, or the client would never use it, or even just like they're not confident in the boundaries that they have because they already have thoughts about like, is this too much? Is this really necessary? Is this something that I need to do? Versus being like, no, this is actually what's going to help us get the result and, better advocate for yourself and your team.
Yeah. And I think that's a really great point. Like, as an example, I kind of look at it as like signal versus noise. Customer feedback can sometimes be very noisy. We don't know what the actual question is. But then if we're looking of like, why did this question come up?
Mm-hmm.
How did we get here? I think then we can find a lesson in a system or a process or a training or something. So for example, if like someone's asking me to get involved, like maybe even if that's not a boundary that we typically have, it's like, okay, well, how did they get here? Are they feeling lost? Is there a hole in our onboarding procedures? Is there something we could have explained clear? Was there a process that maybe a coach could have implemented better that they're feeling like I have to, but in reality, I don't, if we'd trained that into the team? All of those things will sharpen the system every single time there is feedback so that you're learning from every experience.
Something I was going to say is like we massively changed Sales Studio this year, and it wouldn't have happened had we not like tripled our enrollment into the offer. So something that probably would have taken me a year or two to learn, fix, adapt and things like that took us, less than a quarter. And I think it was because of us just being sharp and again, like taking the feedback and implementing it and changing it and figuring out like, okay, what's going to be easy, what's intuitive, what's not, what's going to help the team and the client, what's going to allow us to deliver this service with a great client experience.
More clients always helps your systems. Whenever people are trying to do systems instead of selling more clients, I'm like, all your systems are going to change when you get more clients. Yeah. Like more clients as fast as possible will help your systems better than anything. Yeah. Like I think
this is coming from a type A person that I could have not pre-planned better. I'm like, like my whole goal was like, we're going to get these people, we're going to get them in, we're going to get them in. We got everything set up. Boom. Everything
Instant
was like,
change.
Instant change. Yeah. So
Instant,
it's just, I think it's just a natural part.
Necessity is the mother of invention. And I feel like I always prefer to have more people like trying out the systems and then, fixing from there. Because then you actually see like what's necessary versus what isn't, versus before it's just a theory. So,
and it's the same thing with client results as well. You need more people to get better client results. And people don't realize that. They think like, no, I need to like dig in one-to-one with these few people. And I'm like, no, you need a higher variety of people running through your process and a higher volume of people running through your process. That's what makes all of us so good at what we do, is the fact that we chose to scale. And that's just so important. Let's talk about something dicey again. The morality of it all. I noticed that people have a lot of thoughts about, I'll see it all the time on like threads and things like that. Like personally, I'm someone that loves my clients, so I wouldn't want to delegate. Or personally, I'm someone that actually loves the work that I do, so I actually don't want to delegate, or, anything like that. Curious to hear your thoughts on all of that.
So it depends on your long-term goals, right? I think if you truly want a private practice with maybe 10 to 15 people, and that is what you want to do for several years, I do think you can do it all yourself. Mm-hmm. But if you want to help more people than that, then I think it actually, to me, becomes unethical if you don't start thinking in terms of how am I going to get people involved? How am I going to build systems and processes to keep our client experience at a very high level? Because I think it's unethical when you sell people on something that is a significant investment and you can't over deliver.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times if you're overburdened, you can't over deliver. If you're missing deadlines, if you're not thinking about them, if you're taking notes in a Google Doc between calls super quickly, if you're trying to do everything yourself, if you're shouldering everything yourself, like I think that's actually a disservice to the client versus being able, like I always think of myself, I think I'm a great CEO, but I am thinking of 15 things at one time in service of clients to make sure the IRS doesn't come after us, keep people on the team, like make sure people are getting the right emails, like all in service of clients. When my team member is sitting down with someone, they're just thinking about them. And so I think that's, I guess in terms of the morality thing, that's what we were like laughing. I was like, I'm confused.
Yeah.
I'm confused on, you know.
Because there's people that think it's unethical to charge that much for you to then delegate the work.
But I think it's that frame is you're charging for you.
My thought is also like, do you think I'm only worth $15,000?
Yeah.
That too.
Yeah.
That too. And also to your point about like you're charging for you, I think it's unethical because then you know what ends up happening is people add burnout tax and they're like, I have to do all the work. So now I'm charging an extra $10,000 for it because that's what I'm worth.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm worth that. That's what I'm worth. The same people that are like, that's unethical, I wouldn't do that, are the same people that are like, I charge my worth. And I'm like, that's unethical.
Yeah.
To charge your worth. Like, no, that's not how a company, if a company said that, imagine if the CEO of like LinkedIn right now was charging their worth. Like, no, that's
Tesla
not
charging
their worth. It's just like, that's not, you would think that was wrong.
Yeah.
You would think that was wrong.
Yeah.
And so it's always so interesting when I see that. But yeah, no, also I'm literally priced. You couldn't afford me.
Also I'm like, I don't want to, who dreams of work? There's just so many things involved. But I'm also like the resentment part of it all is when you're doing everything yourself, when you feel like you're, no matter how much you're adding on and burnout tax and all the things, but not signing enough clients, or you have all the clients that you want, but you still want more, you start getting into this resentment phase. And that's where you are not serving clients well. You're not serving yourself. Also, like, it's really hard to serve the people that you want at that boutique level only with yourself. Like at that time, like you're not taking time off. You're not being able to step away. If something happens, like what will happen to your clients and to your business? And I think it goes back to like, what are your long-term goals? What is the goal for you to make your business as sustainable as possible? If you are someone that's like planning on being an entrepreneur for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years plus, then it is thinking about, again, I think it's just like a problem that's going to follow you everywhere. And you're just going to keep burning it down, building back up, and finding yourself in the same loop.
And it's like people truly aren't paying to work with you because if you didn't get them results, they would not pay you. So it's like, it's not just you, it's people are paying for results. And so it's your job to figure out, yes, maybe you can get that for them individually right now, but as your program continues to grow, how are you going to get that for them at scale?
Yeah. For me, I think about like, especially from an agency perspective, I'm just like, they're paying for my process, not me. Anyone else could be delivering that process, that IP, but I created it. To your point, like we've been able to get results from it. They're paying to get access to the process.
Yeah. And if you want just me, then you're probably not like, it goes back to what you said about transparency. Like this is how involved I am. And if you just want me, then you probably just shouldn't work with me then.
Yeah.
Because I'm very transparent about how involved I am.
I'm rough. I'm not nice.
That's another thing. You don't,
than I will.
You say you want me and then you don't like me. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. I get that a lot.
No, exactly. I think that we're really transparent in terms of like where I'm involved in the program, what our boundaries are, et cetera. And if people are like already showing signs that they're not okay with that or that they would just like bulldoze past those boundaries, and like, it's probably not a fit, and that's okay.
It's just not a fit.
Yeah.
And it's believing that there are plenty of clients out there that are, though. I think people get worried because it's like, well, how many clients will I be able to get then? Clearly a lot. Clearly enough. We all have hundreds of clients combined.
Yeah.
Clearly.
I think the most ethical thing you can do, to your point, is just having the tools to scale and not do it in a way that continues to be a disservice to the client and you. It only becomes an ethical issue when you have hundreds of clients, but you're not delivering results. You're overcharging. You have like this big business empire, but you don't have the reputation anymore. You're not able to fulfill the services in the same way that you did. And I think that's what people are scared of because they're like, I don't know how to hire. I don't know how to train. I don't know if I have any IP that I can deliver. I don't know if I trust somebody else to do things, but instead of exploring and working on that skill set, they just kind of decide from there.
You know what's interesting too is I just had a agency owner ask me a really good question, which was, she was like, I'm about to hit 300K this year. And I don't like, what's the point of scaling? Like, I have a great life where I'm at. Like, it's great. I love the people that I'm helping. I love the work that I do. And I just can't imagine it being peaceful scaling to 500K or $1 million. And something I told her, I said, it's interesting that you say that because you're saying you have so much peace right now with where you're at, but the only reason you're scared of scaling is because of how hard you're working right now. And she was like, oh. And I'm like, you're literally at cap right now of how much you're working, which is why you're saying this right here is good. Because you're at capacity.
Yeah. Right.
You will work harder. My philosophy, I'm curious your take, but like my philosophy, my spicy take is like you will never work harder than when you're not making $1 million.
300K was turbulent.
300K is, I actually call it the 250K crisis. I think 250 to 300 is like the worst time in business.
Yes. It's a grind. I think I'm not like clocking as many hours tired. Like, I'll be honest, I was probably doing 10-hour days at 300K.
Totally.
Like, I was work. So I'm like, I have a more regulated schedule. Like, I am off Fridays in the afternoon. Like, I can actually do date night, stuff like that.
You told me you wake up at 10 now?
Yes, I wake up at 10. Let's say it publicly. I'm not up at 7 a.m. It's not happening. I'm not up at 7 a.m. I know. I'm up at 10, but I'm coaching late. Yeah,
you coach late. You coach on hours.
I coach until hours. 7, 8, etc. But anyways, I feel though you're problem solving harder. And I think that's what people don't get. So I think you are thinking more strategically, you're problem solving harder. I think that's, what the challenge is as you're scaling, but you're not working to the point where you feel like you're consistently at capacity. I feel more supported now than ever at $1 million because my team has my back.
You have money.
And you have money.
You have money. Also, I'm just like, at 250K, I feel like your business is running you. You don't have time to run your business. You don't have the space to think about like, okay, what does my business need next?
And you have a great work from home job.
Yeah. And I think
well-paid work from home job.
Yeah. And I think the issue is like when you're trying to figure out like the capacity to scale is almost always a systems issue because to that point, you don't have enough time to think and innovate and all that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, my goodness, even if you end up staying at the same income level, do the team and systems and the mindset work, in my opinion, to just make things more efficient and make things easier for yourself.
Yeah. Make the same money with half the time.
Right. Half the time. Like just change your work schedule because like I said, you're only saying that you're scared to scale because you're currently at capacity with where you're at.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's the first time I've been able to finally articulate like that. Yeah. And it's really profound and helpful. And I think, a lot of us are very money motivated. We're like, why wouldn't you want to make more money? That doesn't make sense, right? Of course. But for those that aren't, I was telling that same person, I was like, I'm also like, at the end of the day, I'm not as money motivated as people think. Like what do they say? They say it like 500K, it like changes your life. But after that, it doesn't get that different.
You don't
something
really
like that.
Yeah.
You don't really feel the difference. I'm like, I don't really feel the difference. Like I flew economy here, everyone. Like,
Same.
I think we all did.
Yeah.
Guys, this is a very big deal right now. Wow. I mean, I had millionaires sleep on my air mattress. So
Sure did. I was on the air mattress. Like money, I'm not that money motivated either. Like I'm flying economy to Italy. Like it's all good. I'm living in a studio right now, a short-term rental studio. I don't need
about wherever you value.
I don't need, you know what I mean? Like it's about what you value. And so I think people assume that it's like wanting to make more money equals materialism. And so then going back to the morality of all, then people are like, well, I'm not materialistic, so I don't really need more. And I'm like, do you have any other goals? Do you have any wealth goals, buying your family a house, I don't know, any other goals, taking care of family members, whatever it is. But even if you're not money motivated, what I was telling this client was I was like, be motivated by the movement.
Yeah.
Like be motivated by helping more people. That's because the money is going to cap out. That money motivation will cap out. You will be like, it's not that worth it.
Yeah.
Not.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, with all due respect,
Mm-hmm.
it's Leo season, so I can talk my thing. But like, I think in a few years with my age and my earning years, I could probably pack it up. Like if I was money motivated, and
she's early 20s, y'all.
I'm early 20s.
Yeah.
And so, but it was very clear to me. I was like, I want my legacy when all is said and done with this business to be that I helped thousands of kids.
Yeah.
And I cannot get there by myself or doing everything myself. And I think it's actually a disservice for me to try to micromanage everything to the point where I can't help as many people as I want to. And so I'm actually like, I'm taking the scaling hits for the mission, for the legacy, for the greater impact of like, okay, yeah, we're going to have to figure out how to take this type of style of work and get it to 500 kids because that's how many people I want to help. So,
and speaking of ego, something I just want to name because I'm gonna bring up ego here. For the people that aren't very movement oriented,
I was gonna get to
yeah, I definitely want to address that because I have an answer to that. I'm curious yours.
not necessarily an answer, but more like a different take because I don't see myself scaling my agency to, you know, I don't want to work in the next 10 years personally. Yeah. And so, you know, and so for me, I'm just like, why are you trying to let yourself struggle?
Yeah.
You've struggled so much. Like, you don't need to do it. And it's okay that you now are comfortable and peaceful and have time to have hobbies and take time off and travel and see your friends and make time for your family and even, you know, provide for your family. But yeah, like, why do you keep trying to make yourself struggle or like equate like scaling with hard work and I need to consistently work hard because then I don't know what to do.
And something I want to say too, like if you're not money motivated, and this ties in well to what you were saying because some people may not know this. We call Jasmine the Syrian princess. She's our Syrian princess. She is not meant to work. She's not supposed to be a CEO, right? This is purely a personal development journey for her. Like she's
temporary.
She's going to be out in the next few years. You're never going to see her again. The website link is going to be broken on the YouTube. You're not going to know who this person is very soon. She is not built for this.
She's not playing.
But it's like, be that girl though. Like even if you're not money motivated, even if you're not movement motivated, be like personal development motivated of like, I'm going to be
for the plot.
A CEO for the plot.
Yeah.
To say that I made so much money I think about one of my clients. Well, I won't name her, but she wouldn't mind if I did, but she's amazing. And she's like in her dating era right now. And she's like, I love going on dates and being like, yeah, I'm an entrepreneur of a $250K business. And she's like not super money motivated, not super movement motivated, but she's like, I love being that girl and being like, yeah, I'm an entrepreneur. Yeah, I'm a CEO and this and that. And like be motivated by that. And I just think that is that's cool too. You know what I mean?
And to your point, this is maybe a little bit of a hot take, but like I come from Silicon Valley where I went to school. And so the entrepreneurial perspective there is very focused on ownership, very much focused on like, I own this company, exit plan, not just working. Like the perspective of like, I could only have a business of this size where I'm doing all of the things versus seeing yourself as an owner of like, I could run a company where people are implementing processes that I've built and have equity value. I think more women should start looking at themselves in that light because I think that it is elevated. I think you are that girl to be able to say like, I own this entity that I've built. It's incredibly impressive. And that does require pulling yourself out of doing everything.
Yeah. This is so inspiring. I have loved this conversation. Can you tell people where they can find you if they want to work with you?
Yeah. My website and handle's Janae Tutoring, JanaeTutoring.com and at Janae Tutoring on Instagram. And my podcast is the Get Accepted podcast.
So good.
My podcast is Brand Your Way to a Million, and you can find us on social media on our website, highflyerpowerhouse.com and at highflyerpowerhouse.
I have been loving Jasmine's podcast. Side note, so good.
Thank you.
So good. I love it. Everyone, follow them. Thank you so much for being on the Business Without Burnout podcast.